Hello everybody and welcome back to Instant Release. Today I want to make a short video because I'm going to talk about the camera that we're talking about more in the future with other videos. But today I want to talk about the Leica X1. This is my first Leica. And when I say first Leica, I mean first real Leica. I'm not really a Leica snob by any means, but saying that the Lux cameras are Leica cameras kind of brushes me wrong a little bit. They are Panasonic cameras with a red dot on them. They are pretty much entirely made by Panasonic in Japan. I'm inclined to say that lens is included even if they have a Leica badge on it. I'm not going to enter the debate, but fact of the matter is the Leica X1 is the cheapest Leica, real Leica that you can get, which is made in Germany, which has all the characteristics of a Leica camera that you want to have in terms of build quality, shape, looks, whatever. And well, I had a really good deal on one, so it's a camera that I always kind of was intrigued about. And you know, as a photographer, you always kind of want to give Leica a chance, I guess, because that camera has such, like that camera brand, I mean, has such like an aura around it. You see people that talk only about Leicas and nothing else, and you know, you look at the prices and you're like, okay, what? This is a luxury brand, this is not a camera brand, and yeah, it's intriguing at the very least. So, what is the Leica X1? Should you even consider one? Should you get one? Well, I'm going to try to answer that very quickly in this kind of short video that I want to make. But the Leica X1 is a premium point and shoot camera that was released back in 2009, so that's quite a bit long time away. But this was basically the very first APS-C premium compact camera that was released, and you know, that's the camera that pretty much created a whole new segment in which cameras like the Fujifilm X100, the Ricoh GR, stuff like that would then, you know, come in a few years later. Fujifilm in 2011, so 2 years after the X1, and Ricoh in 2013, 4 years later. Anyway, in terms of sensor, we have a 12 megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor inside that camera, which is, if I had to guess, very similar to the sensor that I had in my Fujifilm X100 original, which was released, as I said, in 2011. So I think they were like both from Sony anyway, and very similar sensors in what they would be able to do. In front of that sensor, we have not a pancake, but an extending 36mm f2.8 lens, giving you a 36mm. What did I say? It's a 24mm f2.8, not f2.6, and giving you a 36mm equivalent field of view. Okay. So what is the Leica X1 really beyond those specs? I'm not going to talk about stuff like continuous shooting and whatever, because well, it's not really relevant on that camera, even though it can do it. I think it's like, it can go up to, I don't know, like 3 frames per second or something. I really don't remember, actually. The main thing about the Leica X1 is that a lot of people that I've seen making reviews of that camera are, I think, intending that camera to be the wrong thing. A lot of people want that camera to be a nice, snappy, everyday carry camera. This is not what the Leica X1 is meant to be, and it's not able to do it. The main reason for that is the autofocus. The autofocus is quite slow. I would even say prehistorically slow. Like, it's almost on the verge of I would be faster with manual focus. Unfortunately, the manual focus, it's with a rear dial, it's not really that practical to do. I would honestly just stay with autofocus, but just be intentional with it and take your time. That's the main thing about the X1. But yeah, this is a camera made for slowing down, like really slowing down. It's almost like you have a film camera in your hands, kind of slowing down. And to me, that's kind of endearing, even though the camera, I know, doesn't have great specs at all. It has a great lens, okay? It has a great sensor behind it. The colors I'm getting out of that sensor are awesome. I'm really liking the image quality out of the X1, and the shooting process, you know, having this camera in your hands, the shooting process is like weirdly fun. It does not have a viewfinder, so I bought that plastic 35mm equivalent field of view viewfinder of Amazon, and I just put that on the hot shoe here, which is a full functional hot shoe, by the way, if you want to put a flash on it. If you still, if you want to have an integrated flash, you're lucky because it has one. But the main thing with the X1 is that when I'm shooting it with that little viewfinder or with the screen in the back, the camera is very enjoyable to shoot, and I really like shooting with it. I'm taking my time, I'm crafting my composition a bit more carefully, and I'm not taking tons and tons and tons of photos, which is something that other digital cameras do not really limit you on that front. Understandably so, like why would they limit you when it comes to that? But the fact that the Leica X1 is not able to take like a ton of shots, it's not able to, you know, last for a long time on one single charge for the battery, the fact that, you know, it's a 2009 camera, so there are things that are failing on that stuff. For example, mine, the reason why I was able to get a very good deal on it is because the screen polarizer in the back is like going away. If you look at it, it's a bit weird, it's a bit bad, right? So in bright sunny days, you cannot really see it very clearly. The internal battery is dead, so every time I remove the battery, I have to set the date again. And lastly is the fact that well, the battery clip is broken, so even if I don't have to remove the battery to change it, the moment I open the door to like get the SD card, for example, I have to set the date as well. Anyway, the camera itself works great, and I really like the handling experience of it. There are some things I'm not completely convinced about, like for example the aperture dial on top of the camera, where I would probably want to have an exposure compensation die there. The absolute absence of any control on the lens, neither an aperture ring or a manual focus ring. That would have been nice, but no. You know, there are slight quirks like that, and that makes the Leica X1 kind of quirky to use. And to me, quirky is like kind of a synonym for interesting, and this is what makes that camera fun to me. So I have a Fujifilm X100S, which weirdly enough cost me about the same when it comes to, you know, money. And if you want to buy either of those cameras on the used market, both of them are going to be around 500 bucks, which I'm not sure that it's worth it at 500 bucks. I would highly incline you to search for a deal, or maybe a camera in a slightly worse condition, if you're okay with that, to lower the, you know, the price, because I got my Fuji for like 300 bucks, and I got the Leica X1 for like 220, so, you know, kind of okay prices. But even with cameras so similar as those ones, I still find myself gravitating towards the Leica X1 a bit more than the X100S at the moment, even though the X100S is the clear better camera. I'm gonna make a video comparing those two a bit more in depth, but the main thing here is that I can see myself having both of them side by side. So, you know, the Leica X1, if you want a Leica, that's the cheapest one, and it is a good one. I really like the way that this camera handles, takes photos, makes you feel when you have it in your hands, whatever. It's not like super different from the X100S, although the X100S has a lot of differences, but yeah, I'm not gonna, you know, talk too much about the X1, because that is a very simple camera, and you already know if you want it or not. If you're researching the X1, you want a Leica, and you are curious about the cheapest Leica that exists. Now, is the Leica X1 worth your money? That's a whole other, you know, debate. To me, the camera is good. Well, I wouldn't pay 500 bucks for it. But if what you want is a Leica, then, and you don't want a knockoff, right? Then the X1 is the only camera that you would want to get, because that's the only one that's a Leica. So, and while I would like to say that the X1 is not worth the money and etc., if you want a Leica, you're gonna get a Leica, no matter what you want to do. It's like people that want to have a BMW. Yeah, okay, the Toyota, is about as fast, maybe drives a bit better, more reliable, and it's about the same price. But you really want you really want that old BMW, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of feeling. That's what happens really with that Leica X1 compared to more modern, better performing cameras. And yeah, the Leica X1 to me is like worth getting just for the thrill of using a camera like that. But really, if I had to say if it's worth getting or not, on just a price performance perspective, it's not worth getting. But on a perspective of enjoyment, then definitely yes. So this is a bit of a mixed bag conclusion, I guess. On one hand, I'm really liking that camera. On the other hand, I kind of recognize that it's really not worth the money. But at the same time, is enjoyment something that you value and want to have? That's a real, question, I guess. But yeah, the Leica X1, a lot of people buy Leica cameras to have a bit of a collector's item, put them on the shelf, have it be like an icebreaker when someone visits home, or stuff like that. I don't want that Leica X1 to be that kind of camera. I want it to be used. I want it to be dinged up, have the paint screw off, like go off the edges. I want to use that camera and to really put through its paces. So far, I've taken it to several cities. I have taken on top of several mountains as well. Like, this is a camera that I'm using. It's not a status thing. It's really a tool, and a tool that I really enjoy using. So yeah, I guess I don't have a ton of things to say more about that camera, which is, as I already said, is very simple. So I guess I'll just cut it right here, and we'll see ourselves when I make the video comparing the X100 to the Leica X1, because, well, they are price competitors. They are also competing for the exact same segment of the retro premium APS-C 35mm equivalent compact camera, which is quite specific. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.